about another epidemic other than coronavirus. And that's an epidemic of stress and mental problems. We're expecting to see more and more mental health issues because of the stress that we've all been under because of the coronavirus, COVID-19. Stress has always been around and it's getting worse. Our lifestyle seems to indicate that if you don't answer an email within a few moments, you get a second email asking why you haven't sent the first email. In the old days, and some of you won't remember the olden days, you used to send a letter, you used to type it, put 2 bits of paper in, piece of carbon paper, type a letter, put an address and a stamp, post it. It took a day or so to get there. Someone read it, thought about it. It could take 7 days for it to get back to you. There was time. But not today. Not today. We're forced to answer texts and messages and emails, and the pressure is getting worse. And then on top of that, we've had the coronavirus, the fear. And that's something that's been terrible. We've got over the fear of not having any toilet paper or not being able to buy pasta or flour. The shops are full, restrictions are easing, but the virus is still there. And a lot of people are concerned and frightened. They've been in lockdown and now they've worried about being out amongst the public. Is it still there? Is there going to be a second wave? But stress and anxiety is not just that. It's dealing with your lifestyle. It's dealing on an everyday basis. I don't have an answer, but I do say that there are things that you can do to try and lower it down. Trying to get a good night's sleep is very important. Trying not to fill your head up with too much news. It's good to keep up to date with what's going on in the world, but you can watch too much news and we're glorifying headlines. I've noticed some of the channels now, they've taken the news from an hour to an hour and a half. I don't think you need an hour and a half of news when you're just repeating the same news stories over and over again. And we don't need that much news. So find a trusted news source. And yes, it's important to find out what's going on, but it's important to try and give your brain a bit of a rest. So try and get out for a walk, get out into nature, and try and think to yourself that being under stress and being in a fearful situation, because at the end of the day, fear is future experiences appearing real. And most of the things that we worry about aren't going to happen anyway. It's just our brain making them seem real. And they're even worse at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning when we wake up and we worry about everything. Seek help, seek advice. Don't suffer alone and battle on, but there are things that you can do, like exercise and diet, and they're important as well. And don't feel alone and don't feel embarrassed, because it's something we all suffer in one way or the other. It would be nice to be happy all the time, but you can't be happy all the time. It's impossible to be happy all the time. Otherwise, you wouldn't remember happy events, because you'd always be happy, and no one's always happy. Things are always going to go wrong, but the sun comes out and then they seem better. So you just have to deal with it on a daily basis. But as I've repeated, don't struggle on and battle on alone, and don't feel embarrassed if you have to go to see your doctor, and don't be embarrassed if you have to go and see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and if you have to be put on medication for a while. These things are there to help you. Meditation is something that helps a lot of people, but if you can't meditate, and a lot of people can't, then don't beat yourself up about that, because that's another problem. Oh, I can't meditate because I just can't do it, so there must be something wrong with me. No, not everyone can meditate. There are other things that you can do. So, what is my advice? Find what suits you best and take the right advice.